Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others struggle their entire lives? What if I told you that the secret isn't in working harder, but in understanding one simple truth that changes everything? When I first began my journey, I believed that wealth was only about money. I thought it was about long hours, endless hustle, and sacrifices that left me drained. I chased it blindly, thinking success was just a number in my bank account. But the truth I discovered shook me to my core. I realized that wealth, real wealth, comes when you shift your mindset, embrace the right habits, and understand the power of your own choices. That understanding didn't just make me financially rich, it made me emotionally, mentally, and spiritually rich too. And today, I want to take you through the 5 powerful truths that open the doors of abundance in my life. These are not just ideas, they are life-changing principles that can transform the way you see money, success, and yourself. Wealth begins in the mind. The first and most powerful truth I discovered on my journey to wealth is that all riches start in the mind. Long before the first dollar enters your pocket, long before opportunities appear, long before success seems possible, the seed of wealth is planted in the way you think. Most people spend their lives chasing money, believing that effort alone, long hours, and endless hustle will bring them wealth. But the truth is, if your mind is clouded with doubt, fear, and scarcity, no amount of external effort will ever lead to true abundance. I remember a time when I worked tirelessly, yet I felt constantly stuck. I would look at others achieving success and think, why not me? I blamed circumstances, luck, or other people, never realizing that the barrier was my own mindset. I was unconsciously telling myself that I wasn't enough, that opportunities were limited, and that wealth was meant for someone else. Every thought of limitation was like a lock on the door of my potential. The moment I became aware of this, everything began to change. I started deliberately reshaping my thoughts. I fed my mind with abundance. With stories of people who had built empires from nothing, I began affirming every day, I am capable, I am worthy, I attract opportunities effortlessly. I realized that wealth is not just about numbers in your bank account. It is about believing you deserve it and preparing yourself to receive it. I also learned that the mind has incredible power to recognize opportunities. When I shifted from fear to faith, suddenly I could see possibilities where I once saw walls. Meetings, ideas, partnerships, and investments that had passed me by before now appeared as clear paths. The more I strengthened my mindset, the more aligned my actions became with abundance. Wealth is not a random stroke of luck. It is a reflection of your internal state. When your mind thinks in terms of growth, possibilities, and courage, the world responds. And here is the most important part. This transformation is accessible to everyone. You don't need a degree, connections, or inherited wealth. You only need the willingness to train your mind, to guard your thoughts, and to see abundance even in small moments. The richness of your life begins in your mind. Plant seeds of possibility, water them with belief, and watch as opportunities grow into financial freedom and lasting success. True wealth always starts within. Time is the ultimate currency. The second truth that transformed my journey to wealth is this: time is the most valuable currency you have. Many people believe that wealth is built solely by working harder or earning more. But the reality is, how you use your time determines the richness of your life far more than money alone. I realized that I had been spending my most precious resource, my hours, on things that didn't truly matter. I was busy, yes, but not productive. I was trading my life for small gains, thinking that endless effort alone would create abundance. We live in a world that glorifies busyness, but being busy is not the same as being productive. The richest people don't work the longest hours, they work the smartest. They know that time, once lost, can never be regained. I began to examine my own habits and realized that every hour spent reacting, procrastinating, or worrying was an hour stolen from my future wealth. I asked myself, am I investing my time in things that multiply my value, my skills, and my opportunities? From that day forward, I made a radical shift. I stopped working aimlessly and started working purposefully. I prioritized learning over mere labor, growth over routine, and strategic action over frantic activity. I created a schedule that valued high-impact tasks, invested time in building relationships that mattered, and dedicated hours to developing skills that could open doors I had never imagined. I learned to say no to distractions, to guard my energy, and to make every moment count. The results were astonishing. I noticed that opportunities began appearing faster, decisions became clearer, and my productivity soared. Time invested wisely compounds just like money in a bank. A single hour spent learning, creating, or planning can yield results far greater than days of aimless effort. I began to see that the wealthy don't just earn money, they invest their time strategically, and their time investment multiplies into opportunities, wealth, and freedom. Here's the ultimate lesson. Treat your time like your most precious asset, because it is. Protect it, invest it, and spend it with intention. When you understand that time is the ultimate currency, you stop trading it for temporary distractions and start using it to build a life of abundance. True wealth is not just about the money you earn. It is about the time you master, the choices you make, and the legacy you create with every hour of your life. Value creation is the shortcut to wealth. The third truth that completely changed my life is this: wealth comes to those who create value. For the longest time, I believed that earning money was about working harder or waiting for opportunities to fall into my lap. I thought success was about chasing profits, titles, or recognition. But then I realized that the world doesn't reward effort or desire alone, it rewards solutions. Wealth is a natural byproduct of the value you bring into other people's lives. I remember the first time this truth hit me. I was focused solely on my own financial gain, thinking about how I could make money. And yet, I kept hitting walls, facing rejection, and feeling frustrated. It was exhausting. One day, someone told me a simple but life-changing sentence. Stop thinking about what you can get, start thinking about what you can give. That moment changed everything. I began asking myself, how can I help people? How can I solve a problem, make life easier, or bring joy? The shift in focus was magical. I realized that when you genuinely create value, money follows naturally. It is not the goal, it is the reward. I started looking at opportunities through the lens of service rather than gain. Instead of trying to sell, I tried to solve. Instead of seeking recognition, I sought to contribute. And slowly, doors began to open. People noticed the impact I was making, trusted me more, and opportunities multiplied. Creating value also changed the way I approached risk and innovation. I was no longer afraid of failure because my goal was clear: to serve and provide solutions. Even if something didn't succeed immediately, the effort added knowledge, experience, and credibility, priceless assets that compounded over time. I learned that true wealth is not transactional, it is transformational. The more value you offer, the more abundant your life becomes, not just financially, but emotionally and socially as well. The ultimate lesson here is profound. Stop chasing money, start creating value, focus on solving problems, improving lives, and making a difference. When you align your work with purpose, passion, and service, wealth becomes inevitable. It flows naturally to those who are committed to adding value, not just collecting currency. This truth has not only enriched my bank account, but has made my life meaningful, fulfilling, and impactful. Risk and courage are non-negotiable. The fourth truth that transformed my journey to wealth is this: no one becomes rich by playing it safe. For so long, I believed that security and comfort were the keys to success. I thought avoiding mistakes, staying in familiar patterns, and following the rules would protect me while I worked toward my dreams. But I soon realized that fear of failure is the greatest barrier between you and the life you want. Every opportunity I hesitated to take, every dream I ignored out of fear, delayed my success. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of it. I learned that the richest moments of my life came from the choices I was most afraid to make. Leaving a safe job, pursuing a new business idea, speaking in front of large audiences, all of these moments demanded courage. And each time I stepped forward despite fear, I discovered that doors I didn't even know existed were waiting for me. Risk, when calculated and purposeful, became my greatest ally, not my enemy. I remember the first big risk I took that truly changed everything. I invested my time, energy, and resources into a project that could have failed completely. The fear of loss was real. Doubt swirled in my mind endlessly. But I reminded myself, growth lies outside comfort, and wealth is born in courage. I embraced uncertainty and committed fully. And the result? Not only did the project succeed, but it opened pathways to opportunities, connections, and lessons I could never have imagined if I had stayed safe. Taking risks also reshaped my relationship with failure. I stopped seeing failure as a verdict and started seeing it as feedback, a teacher, and a stepping stone. Each risk, whether it led to success or temporary setback, built resilience, sharpened my instincts, and strengthened my confidence. Courage became a habit, and risk became a calculated tool for progress rather than something to fear. The ultimate lesson is this: if you want to become wealthy in life, you must cultivate courage and embrace risk. Playing it safe keeps you stagnant. Growth, wealth, and transformation require bold decisions. Fear is natural, but it should never dictate your choices. When you act with courage, step into the unknown, and trust yourself, you discover not only financial wealth, but the richness of confidence, experience, and freedom that no money can buy. Gratitude multiplies abundance. The fifth and perhaps most transformative truth I discovered on my journey to wealth is this: gratitude is the secret multiplier of abundance. For many years, I measured richness by numbers, possessions, or status, always focusing on what I didn't have. I chased the next goal, the next achievement, the next paycheck, thinking happiness and wealth lay in what was yet to come. But the moment I shifted my focus to appreciating what I already had, my life changed in ways I could never have imagined. Gratitude is a simple practice, yet its power is extraordinary. When I began acknowledging every small success, every lesson learned, every opportunity, and every kind gesture in my life, I noticed a profound shift. Instead of feeling lack, I felt abundance. Instead of chasing endlessly, I began attracting naturally. The universe, it seemed, responds to the energy you emit. Gratitude opens your eyes to the richness already surrounding you, and in doing so, invites even more blessings into your life. I remember a period when I was struggling, focusing solely on what I lacked. My mind was filled with complaints, comparisons, and frustration. I was blind to the opportunities right in front of me. Then, I consciously decided to write down 3 things I was grateful for every morning. At first, it seemed small, almost trivial. But over time, I noticed doors I had ignored suddenly opening. Opportunities, ideas, and meaningful connections appeared in unexpected ways. Gratitude rewired my mind to see possibility instead of limitation. Gratitude also transforms the way you interact with the world. When you appreciate others, your mentors, colleagues, friends, and even challenges, you create a magnetic energy. People are drawn to positivity and authenticity. I discovered that wealth is not only measured in money, but also in relationships, trust, and respect. Gratitude multiplies these forms of abundance, creating a life that is rich in every sense of the word. The ultimate lesson is this: never underestimate the power of appreciation. Wealth, success, and happiness are amplified when you cultivate gratitude. Every blessing acknowledged becomes a seed for more blessings. Every moment of thankfulness strengthens your mindset, your resilience, and your capacity to receive. True abundance is not only about accumulation, it is about recognition, acknowledgement, and heartfelt appreciation. When you embrace gratitude, you unlock a life overflowing with opportunities, joy, and limitless wealth. In the end, as I look back on my journey, I realize that wealth is never just about money. It is a reflection of our mindset, our choices, and the energy we bring into the world. When I began to think abundantly, respect my time, create genuine value, embrace courage, and practice gratitude, I unlocked a life richer than I could have imagined. True wealth is the harmony between inner growth and outer success, and it flows effortlessly when we align our thoughts, actions, and intentions with the principles that nurture it. Remember, the path to richness is not about shortcuts, luck, or following someone else's formula. It is about understanding yourself, mastering your mind, and living intentionally. Every decision, every thought, and every act of service adds up to the life you desire. When you embrace these truths, wealth is no longer a distant dream. It becomes a natural outcome of who you are and how you choose to live. Your journey to abundance begins the moment you understand this, and the richness you seek is already within your reach.